And I was like, oh my god, like what? Like that's intense. That is epic. What in the world's just gone on there? The shot of fear that just tingles through my body. It goes down my spine. I can feel it. Oh my god. I was not expecting that. Are you kidding? And one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in like a manga, in a story. For some reason I was sitting there just like gobsmacked for a few minutes. I was so angry and I was so disappointed. This is what I've been waiting for. And that's how you tell me? This like totally restored my faith in the series. I kind of hate that. Like that was extremely lazy. Oh my god, that line stuck. I got chills. Like literally, I got chills just now. I hate it so much. How do I even start talking about the ending? I have been desperate to read the rest of Attack on Titan after reading the first volume for the first time last year. So I read the first volume of Attack on Titan in a 30 manga in 30 days challenge. And spoiler alert for that video, the first volume of Attack on Titan was ranked #1. It was my favourite volume 1 in that video. And I haven't had time to make this video and continue Attack on Titan until right now. So hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I love to do all-in-one manga edition reading vlogs where I try and binge an entire manga series, whether it's still ongoing, I'll binge whatever is available to me at that time, or if the series is complete, I binge it all. And that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'll be doing that with Attack on Titan. I have never read past volume 1, so pretty much all of this will be reading it for the very first time. And as you can see, I've got all 34 volumes ready to go. I bought all of Attack on Titan on eBay secondhand for a killer price. So I had better like the series. Can you imagine if I get to like volume 10 and I'm like, no, this isn't for me? I invested because I believe it's going to be incredible. So this is set in a sort of dystopian world where the rest of mankind are hidden behind a wall, and they have been for the past century, because outside of that wall there are these really massive scary looking titans. There's one of them on the cover there, and these titans eat humans. So this video will be filled with spoilers. I'll go through every single arc, telling you all of my thoughts, all of my feelings, reacting to the storylines for the very first time, and the list of arcs I have just gathered from the internet, so hopefully all of this is correct. Before I tell you all of the arcs that I'll be reading in this video, if I mispronounce anything, I apologize. I do actually have the first season of Attack on Titan on Blu-ray, so I think after I've read some Attack on Titan, hopefully I can watch some of the anime so that I can learn pronunciations and all of that. So yeah, please do forgive me if I mispronounce arc names, character names, place names, anything like that. So the arcs I will be reading in this video are The Fall of Shiganshina, Battle of Trost District, 104th Training Corps, The Female Titan, Clash of the Titans, Royal Government, Return to Shiganshina, Marley, and finally War for Paradis. Or Paradise? I'm not 100% sure. So I will be rating every single arc out of 10 and then ranking them at the end of the video. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have been keeping myself from reading Attack on Titan for far too long. I think it's time I get into it. Before I continue, please do give this video a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll leave a playlist as well down in the description box if you want to check out more videos like this. So this is my second time reading the first volume, and I didn't realise just how short the first arc is. So I'd already read the Fall of Shiganshina arc. I think tonight, I have a Patreon live show tonight, but I think after that I might watch the first few episodes of the anime, and then I will definitely be better with the pronunciations. But I didn't realise it would only be 2 chapters of the first arc, which honestly, I've never read an arc as small before, so it's kind of a little bit harder to sort of rate and review. I will say though that I still think I would give it like a really solid rating. I think it has such a fantastic start. It is so exciting. So I'll probably give it like a 7 out of 10. Ratings might change as the video goes on, depending on how I rank the arcs by the end of it. Things might change by the end, so stick around for that. But honestly, I feel like all this story really needed is a really solid foundation and the excitement and the tension and the fear that I think you do feel even from just those first 2 chapters. And it didn't really need to have a whole lot of chapters in order to sort of tell the initial story. It does feel a little bit direct. Like there isn't really a whole lot of nuance around a lot of like, I guess, character themes, which I will get into and I will talk about, you know, all spoilers so you know what I mean. But just like initially, I just feel like a lot of it is a little bit, I wouldn't say corny, but a lot of the themes aren't really subtle. I think a lot of it is spelled out to you either through character dialogue or like really obvious action. But again, I'll explain myself in a second. I guess I just want to get like a little bit of the criticisms out of the way initially, because I do absolutely freaking love this story. I am now on volume 4. I've read the first 2 arcs, and I am loving the story so much. So I really just want to get like some of the negativity out of the way first. I'm not really a big fan of the art style. The art style sometimes can be a little bit ugly. I'm not really a big fan of some of the faces. I think it really works with a lot of the Titans, for instance. I think the Titans look absolutely terrifying, and how grotesque the art style can be can really add to that. But I think sometimes the art just doesn't really translate that well. Like say for instance with the Colossal Titan, when you see it from behind, like it's got a flat horse. But even not just that, I think sometimes, like, I guess, you know, the angle of a body or the way that it looks from a different angle than what you initially get from, like, say, like a face-on shot or anything like that, it just doesn't look like 100% right, you know? And sometimes I think that can really add to the uncanniness of the human faces as well as the Titan faces. So there's just always a sort of feeling of being unsettled. So hopefully that is an intentional art choice. And not every single manga has to look like Berserk, for instance. So all of that out the way, I freaking loved this first volume. Like, it won that 30 manga in 30 days challenge for a reason. Just literally straight away from the very first page, you have the Colossal Titan towering over the wall, looking over. Like, I'm telling you, the fear, the shot of fear that just tingles through my body. It goes down my spine. I can feel it in every single atom of my body. I get terrified by seeing that Colossal Titan looking over the wall. I don't think this will ever get old. There's just something so unnatural about seeing someone massive like this, and I have a little bit of a fear of things being too tall, like say elongated limbs and massive beings that just like tower over you. I have the biggest fear of, so this is really playing into that fear, and it's one of the reasons why I absolutely think this is, like, it's not really supposed to be a horror or anything. I think this is more action and dystopian, a little bit fantasy, but like I get horror from this, I really do. And the Titans are a little bit zombie-like. And also I want to correct myself before, I think I mentioned in the intro that the Titans were all skinless, but that isn't the case. I've actually met more Titans now, and you do get a little bit of a variety. You get some that do have skin, you get some that don't, you have different sizes, and it's really incredible to see like the variety of them. But yeah, they do seem a little bit zombie-like. Like, oh, I say zombie-like, they do eat people. They are incredibly strong. A lot of them don't seem to have a lot of intelligence, apart from the Colossal Titan. The only one that seems to be able to penetrate the wall to allow other Titans in. So to have the story start off this way was just absolutely phenomenal. You get only like pages of peace, pages of, you know, a little bit of world building, how it's been 100 years of the Titans ruling outside, and that humans have managed to make these walls, and we have Wall Maria that is protecting all of the inner walls and like the inner civilization, and they've lived in peace for a long time. They have this kind of society inside that, as the arcs go on, at least I've read the first 2 arcs, it deteriorates a little bit. You get to see like how much humans don't really do very well with being caged in, and like the theme of freedom really comes through very well too. And even in the first arc, you get to feel that through the main characters. So we have like 3 main characters. We have Erin, Mikasa, and Armin. Might have pronounced their names a little bit wrong, I apologize. But they're 3 characters who, I mean, I really like Mikasa. I think she's pretty awesome. With the 3 main characters, you do get a little taste of their personalities. You get to see like Armin, he's kind of a scaredy cat, or at least he's kind of like the weaker of the 3. And then you get like Erin, he's almost like the, I guess, the leader in a way. Him and Mikasa have like kind of grown up together. You do get to find out a little bit more about Mikasa and like their relationship in the next arc, but you get to see like how protective they are of like the 3 of them. Like all 3 of them are great. Mikasa is someone who strikes fear into bullies' hearts, so like she is very strong and formidable. So as a trio, I kind of like them. I mean, I don't love them just yet. I want to give it a little bit more time to marinate my feelings on the main characters, but I do think they have potential to be like really great. And just from this first arc alone, there are so many seeds planted in their journeys and their arcs. So like, for instance, poor Erin having to see his mother getting killed, like that was so gruesome and awful. Like, did we have to see her legs snapping out of that Titan's mouth? Ugh, like it's absolutely disgusting. And I also have a fear of like cannibals, and with the Titans looking like humans, just like massive, it just adds to that fear, you know. And again, like with the zombie thing as well. Zombies eating humans, Titans eating humans. Like, I'm so intrigued. We know next to nothing about these Titans. We know nothing about where they came from, why they're here, why they're eating humans. Like, why does this colossal Titan just appear out of nowhere just to, like, let these other Titans in to cause chaos and further repressing the last of mankind? It's just so terrifying, and I love the mystery of it. I do. I love the fact that we don't know a whole lot just yet. I'm a little bit worried and concerned that when we do get more answers to certain things later on, I'll not be as impressed by it, because sometimes when we learn a little bit too much about something, the fear of it kind of goes away. So I kind of want to keep the Titans as mysterious as possible, but at the same time, I'm just too intrigued. Like, I'm a nosy little bitch. I want to know. Just like I really want to know about this basement that Erin's dad was telling him about. And sometimes characters would act a little bit weird, like especially like Erin's dad. So I'm hoping we learn more about that later on. But like, for instance, when Erin says that he wants to join the Survey Corps and wants to like go out and see, you know, the Titans on the outside and the outside world and stuff, and his mum's like, no, you definitely cannot do that. Absolutely not. I will not allow it. And then Erin's dad is like, okay, I'm off to work. Sometimes like characters just acted in a way that I was just like, oh, okay. I loved learning about the factions. So we do have the Garrison, the Survey Corps, and the Military Police Brigade. I kind of am intrigued by how society works and how they've managed to protect themselves for so long, the sacrifices that they've had to make for so long, what each person's place in this world is. Is there any hope at all? Because, you know, as soon as that wall is breached, Wall Maria is breached, the whole system kind of falls apart because they can't really defend themselves that well against the Titans, really. Like, they can't really fight that well against them. It's very hard to take them down, and you do get a lot of like the soldiers even themselves like running away in fear. What hope do they have? How stable is this society? How stable is this like new government within this society that's protecting everyone? It just seems like a house of cards. It just seems like it's gonna just crumble at any moment. And even at the beginning of the chapter, before like chaos really ensues, when some of the Survey Corps come back and there is this like poor mother, she's like, where's my son? And then the main guy there, I can't remember a lot of character names, I will get there, he gives her like his arm or something. It's just like, that's all that's left of your son, sorry. And she's like, well, was his death in vain? And yeah, his death kind of was. You know what, it's like, what purpose do these people have? What can they do to ensure their own survival? Or is everything just gone to shit and there's nothing you can do about it? Like, that feeling of hopelessness is one of the things I loved about this 2-chapter arc. And to juxtapose that with our 3 main characters wanting so desperately to make a change in this world, especially Erin, especially Mikasa. And you know what, even with Armin, his is a little bit like less obvious, I guess, than the other two. He does seem a lot more scared than them, and I just feel like potentially he has the biggest opportunity for the biggest character arc in the future. Like, it's something that I'm really invested in seeing. I really want him to grow and be better. But I do love the fact that our 3 main characters really do want to make a difference. They really do want to protect everyone. They want to save everyone. They want to get revenge on the Titans, and they want, you know, to explore. Well, I guess more Armin and Erin. They were talking about exploring the outside world and getting answers to the biggest mysteries of life. It is such a nice juxtaposition between the hopelessness of the Titans just barging in and killing a lot of people versus the hope that the main characters embody. So I don't know if I made a whole lot of sense reviewing this first little arc, because yeah, 2 chapters, man. I think we're off to like a really great start. But just one last thing, this bitch, oh, she's gonna be haunting my dreams. Ugh, like, was this necessary to say? Like, really? Ugh. I feel like the mangaka just like pushed me right off the deep end. The Battle of Trost arc was an actual full arc. I mean, I wouldn't say like 12 chapters was like the biggest arc or anything, but it's definitely more than the previous one. And I'm used to, say like for instance, One Piece, where you can have an arc that lasts 149 chapters, for instance. So I'm getting used to the quickness of these arcs in Attack on Titan. And you know what? I feel like I definitely preferred it over the first one. So this is getting like an 8 out of 10. The action, the suspense, the terror just continued in this one. And also mysteries and things were happening and also being told quite quickly. So we got answers to things that I thought would get dragged on for ages. I don't know if I just have like PTSD from One Piece, assuming that it will take 25 years to, you know, get to the bottom of a mystery. But no, with this one, like, for instance, one of the things that we learned about was kind of the basement. Like, we do still need to know more about the basement, but we kind of understand a little bit more about Eren's father and what he was doing. I thought it would take a long time to build to that, but no, it was actually quite a quick sort of, not exactly a resolution, but we got more answers than I thought we would pretty early on. Not just that also, but like, right, so I read up to the end of volume 1. And so the last 2 chapters of volume 1 is the first 2 chapters of this one. And so I totally forgot about this, but when I read it, it left it off on the idea that potentially Eren had been eaten alive and he's dead. And he was eaten alive. Like, we see him go inside the mouth of a titan and the jaws coming down on his arm and his arm coming off. And I was like, oh my god, like what? Like, that's intense. That is epic. What in the world's just gone on there? Like, is he dead? Like, I thought he was the main character kind of thing. As we kind of see quite quickly, there is this titan that appears and it has hair and it starts attacking other titans. And I knew straight away that that was Eren. It was so on the nose. It was something that McAllister or Armin said, I can't remember which one. When observing this brand new titan, they say the fury of the human race incarnate. And I just found it like so on the nose. And also it just happened kind of quickly after he was eaten. So it got my mind racing. And I was like, okay, it's probably Eren, but we probably won't find that out for a while. So what does this mean? Does this mean that when titans eat humans, do those humans then become titans? A little bit more like zombies, how you bite a person and then that person turns into a zombie. I thought maybe there was something there. But no, that ties into the basement stuff with Eren's dad. And it is really epic. Don't get me wrong, it's so epic. The way that Eren just kind of becomes this titan from inside a titan, and then the titan gets split open as he comes out. Oh my god, it's gruesome, it's gnarly, it's dirty, it's disgusting, but it's so cool. It is so cool. But there isn't really like a whole lot of time to ruminate on potential plot points. I feel like it happened so quickly. Yeah, by the end of volume 2, we find out that Eren is actually a titan. I mean, don't get me wrong, like that was still a jaw-dropping moment because I'm like, well, how? How did that happen? What's going on? And I was like, oh yeah, like the basement, it's something to do with his dad. His dad has apparently been missing, I think, for the last 5 years. So where is he? What's he up to? Did he do experiments on Eren? Like, what is the deal there? Like, I am invested 100%. But I am glad that Eren isn't dead because I feel like he has so much more about him. For instance, when we go back in time and we see the flashbacks of Mikasa, which is another mystery that was wrapped up pretty quickly. When Mikasa says to Eren, I owe you, you saved me, all of that, I didn't think we would get the answers to that straight away. So yeah, Mikasa, she was saved by Eren when she was kidnapped by a couple of men, or like 3 men, and Eren like stabs them, like he kills them, and I just wouldn't expect that from Eren. I don't know why, but like he continues to surprise me. Like, I totally get that he has so much anger and stuff, but I didn't think him as a kid taking on 2 grown adults and like stabbing them to death, like I was not expecting that whatsoever. And we got that reveal before we found out that Eren was indeed, well, he either turns into a titan or he can kind of control titans, or well, I'm not 100% sure how it works. Hoping that we do find that out pretty soon. But now if Eren can turn into a titan killing titan, then the tables are turning quite a bit. What I love about the end of this arc itself was we were getting the hope back. This was the first victory of humankind in, I think, about 107 years. This has been such a long time coming. They needed something to help them, and Eren is now sort of like a weapon. Although, you know, it wasn't easy. I, for a moment, thought that all of the infighting and the indecisiveness of the people in power within their society would end up killing Eren. And one of the things that I love that we've explored in this was how humans kind of kill other humans, and all of that infighting makes for a really disorganized society. And it's something that was brought up when we're talking about the history of the world, and it was mentioned briefly about how people used to kill other people, and now that the Titans have come, we've all like united against them so that we can fight them. But at the same time, there was still like people in government who were like killing betrayers, not exactly betrayers, but deserters, killing deserters, or people who were just scared to fight because obviously it's a really scary situation. So it was like a lot of infighting, a lot of people killing one another as well. So what I think this arc did brilliantly was exploring that, how we can do something as a united front. So it felt a little bit like a video game actually, when we had Eren going to block the wall with the big ass boulder. It felt a little bit like a video game level. Like I was picturing it like that, where the other like soldiers and stuff had to, you know, protect Eren from other Titans from stopping him from putting that boulder there, which would stop the Titans from coming in. I just imagined a video game level where you have to protect Eren and he sustains damage, and every now and then he'll drop the boulder and you'll have to like pick it up, and he's like walking slowly towards the goal and you have to like keep killing Titans around. I know there is an Attack on Titan video game, but I haven't heard the best of things about it, and I don't know if there's like a level like that, but it just reminded me of like, you know, Kingdom Hearts 2, when you have to protect Minnie Mouse when you're going into like the throne room. It just, I don't know, it just reminded me of that. But the action felt like video game action. It felt epic, it felt awesome. It felt, again, for the majority of this, so hopeless until Eren discovered his ability and was able to turn the tides, although that wasn't easy either. What I loved about Armin, for instance, was the way that he was able to pull Eren out of his sort of stupor. You know, he's been hit, but he's kind of like fallen asleep within this Titan kind of thing. He's like having this dream, and Armin is the one who pulls him out. I'm starting to see character roles. I'm starting to see where they fit in. And with Armin, I was a little bit annoyed by him to begin with, because I thought, oh, just fucking man up, you know what I mean? Like, he was like being a little bit annoying the way that he was constantly negative, constantly cynical and stuff like that. But I totally understand him more now. I understand his role. I understand how important he can be as a driving force when it comes to like making actual change and like the decisions that he can do, the way that he was able to negotiate with the people who were about to kill Eren because he turned into a Titan, and he obviously didn't want his friends to die. But also, this is a way of progressing humanity. This is a way of progressing civilization to fight against the Titans. Like, this is the first lifeline they've had in such a long time, and that honestly does thrill me. You know what else thrills me? Captain Levi. Like, he seems so mysterious and silent, and he was it the start of volume 3 maybe? There was a random side story with him, and he's said to be the most powerful or like the strongest soldier, and I want to know more about him. I want to know like what his deal is. He seems quite quiet. Well, I say quiet. We don't know anything about him, and then he just shows up at the end of the arc, and I felt some kind of safety there. Like, okay, like this is where we turn the tables on the Titans now. This is where we really fight back against them. It's like it took all of this chaos and destruction and the wall being breached and all of that for whoever's left in this civilization to realize where they have to put their strengths and also their weaknesses. A lot of the soldiers wanted to leave and abandon and spend the last days with their family, but it takes like some motivating speeches and stuff like that to encourage them and keep them all as a united front. So don't get me wrong, like this entire thing was still very chaotic. Sometimes a little bit hard to follow with the art because I still don't think the art is the best. It is so messy. I have very little faith in this military operation, but with our main characters, I do feel more hope with them than I do everyone else, if that makes sense. There was a really awful, like there's quite a few moments in this that I really love, but like there was a really awful moment that I've just felt so bad where there was this random soldier. I don't think he had any, I'm not 100% sure, but there is a section of the town where a few of the Titans are like trying to climb it, and there are some of the soldiers inside it, and one of the soldiers, he has this gun and he's like, oh great, but he puts the gun on himself and unalives himself. And like that was so shocking to me. Like for some reason I was sitting there just like gobsmacked for a few minutes. I think the gravity of the situation really got to me at that point. What would you do? Like in that situation, what would you do? This is showing like the really ugly side of like a dystopian world where humans are dying out and they're being cornered, they're being backed into a corner by these creatures that they know little to nothing about. But what's on the outside? How are they keeping themselves sustained? If like this is the last of civilization, why did it take like 100 years for them to breach the wall? They don't even seem to need to actually eat. They just want to eat people, not out of hunger or anything, but just because they can, or because they're sick and twisted. Like, I don't understand anything about them, and again, I'm going to keep asking these questions until we find out, and then I'm going to be torn because I don't know if I want to know or if the mystery of it will be that much more appealing to me. I also want to know if like somebody gets swallowed by a Titan, can they be shit out? Because when we were inside that Titan that eats Eren, it couldn't have been stomach acid because he would have been burning and it would have like killed him. But no, it looked more like sewage with like bodies in it. Although I'm sure there was probably a chamber for stomach acid and that's how they digest the people they eat. Maybe they could be shit out. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it now. Like in case I ever get eaten by a Titan, I want to know if there's an exit. And it is a good thing that these Titans don't have sexual organs. Like, can you imagine like a massive willy coming at you? I wouldn't be scared anymore. I'd be running toward them. But I now have renowned faith and hope that we can at least attack the Titans and hopefully come out of this victorious. I don't know. But yeah, a solid 8 out of 10 for this arc. definite improvement over the first. And I didn't even think the first needed that much more improvement. It just needed to be a bit longer. This was another short arc. It was 4 chapters long. Unfortunately, I didn't really like this arc very much. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I just don't really see the entire point of it. So this entire arc was essentially more a sort of flashback kind of arc. We get to see how Eren and his friends were like training. We got to see like the early days of their training. And I thought, okay, so like, I guess the point of this arc is to show us maybe the struggle of them getting to where they are now. Maybe showing us like a sort of upward trajectory with Eren, because it seemed at first that he was struggling, especially with the maneuvering equipment. It seemed like he was struggling, but then it turned out it was just faulty equipment, so he was actually like good from the get-go. In fact, he might be better than they thought because he somehow managed to stay upright even with defective equipment. So like this arc didn't really show us like how Eren got to where he is, really. There was like some little bonding moments with the 104th Training Corps, and that's good, but I just don't think it kind of warranted the amount of time it got, because I think by the end of this I was feeling a little bit like, oh, okay, I guess we're like back to the current day storyline, and I haven't really learned a whole lot more, or at least like I haven't really felt like I've connected more with the characters if we had have just skipped the arc entirely. There were still some like very intriguing and interesting things about it, especially power and that going to people's heads. So the guy who kept shouting, "What's your name, maggot?" You know, like that commander person. It was very interesting to see like how they were being treated. This is a dystopian world. Like this is, you know, life and death. And even then we still have people in power who, I don't know, treat people like shit for no reason, it seems like. There was also talk of a king, and I'm like, why do we have a king? Like, why is a king necessary in this like society? What is a king actually doing and the role of that? So I found that interesting. I hope we find out more about the king, especially since I think it was Annie who brought up the good point that why are the best fighters, why are the best people put further away from the wall, further away from the action in order to be nearer to the king? Like, yeah, that is very interesting. That's a good point. I never thought of that before. So I think the main thing with this arc was that it actually made me have a little bit more questions, which is fine sometimes, but I don't think we needed an entire arc to dedicate to only a couple of questions being asked. And I'm just in general not the biggest fan of training montages or like training arcs. Like, I don't really find them all that interesting, and it was the same with this. I did like how at the end of the arc we did have, it was actually quite a jarring quick time jump, because I think maybe this is Eren who's in a coma. He's been in a coma for like 3 days. I think this is him remembering his training and stuff, or at least that's just like kind of the backdrop to why we're going into a flashback now. Because yeah, after the ending of the Battle of Trost district arc, we suddenly go back in time. It does make sense that it would be more like Eren being in a coma and remembering stuff, although I don't know if that's confirmed or not. But it would explain the jarring shift, because at the end of the flashback arc, like this was actually brilliantly done, I loved it, but we were talking to a guy called Marco. He seemed like such a cool guy, like he had strategies, he seemed quite intelligent, and he had a place in like the training corps and a place in this world. And then we turn the page and then he's dead. It's like back to like present day, and he's dead. He's lying down dead. And I love that jarring change. It really caught me off guard. And that's when I was like, okay, this is where the arc is like starting to pick up. But like this was like the last chapter of the arc essentially. And I was way more interested in what was happening in the present day. For instance, it's been a couple of days since the hole was plugged, and there's some kind of disease that they're trying to control now, which is just like one problem after another. So that was interesting. I didn't think we would get the answer to this, but Titans, I was like, in the previous arc, I was saying like, oh, can Titans shit them out? But no, actually, they barf them up. They barf up the bodies that they've like digested, or a lot of the times they don't even look that digested. So like they just barf them up after they've had their fill, I guess. And that just makes it even creepier. Like that makes it much more weird and violent and sick. I hope now that they've actually successfully captured 2 Titans, that they might do some like experiments or find out more information about them so that we do learn just a little bit more. Okay, a couple of weird moments. I don't know if I like it or not, but like Sasha, you know, the potato girl, when everyone's getting shouted at by that dickhead commander, like she just brings out a potato and starts eating it. I'm like, she was saying, oh, it's because she doesn't want it to go bad before she eats it, like it has to be fresh and stuff. But I'm just like, everyone is being shouted at around you and you just pull out a potato and start eating what? Like, I don't get that. And there was another random moment with her later on when the commander guy comes back and one of them says, I think it was Mikasa, and says, oh yeah, Sasha farted. And he's like, it's always you. And then goes like, yeah, maybe that was a little bit of a comedic moment. But I'm just finding like sometimes characters acting so weird, just like so weird. I don't think I took a whole lot from this arc really, but the ending of it was good. I think we're gonna get answers to like what's actually like in the basement of Erin's family destroyed home now that Captain Levi has come back. I'm like, yes, let's get back on track. Let's get back to the present day storyline. Let's keep in this direction. Let's just keep the story going forward rather than kind of stopping the story to go back. And maybe because I'm not like fully invested in characters just yet, I need a little bit more time. Maybe that's why I wasn't the biggest fan of this arc. I don't really care for the training stuff. But maybe once I become a massive Attack on Titan fan and I have some favorite characters, maybe it will hit different on a reread. I'm trying to be as uplifting and positive as possible, but this was like a big miss for me. Just didn't gel with this arc at all, so hopefully the only way is up from here. Before I talk about how shocked I was during this arc, I don't know if I told you, I probably did, but I got all of my Attack on Titan volumes secondhand off eBay, right? And I was reading through volume 5 and I randomly found a Pokemon card inside it. And I don't think it's worth that much. I did check, it's like, I think about £40. But the fact that there is a random Pokemon card in this is what I love about buying things secondhand, especially books. They tell a story sometimes. So I think somebody might have been using this Pokemon card as a bookmark and they got to this point in the story and maybe stopped reading. Like, I don't know, anything could have happened. Maybe the person reading it died. Maybe that's why I got sold all of the volumes of Attack on Titan at once. Maybe it was a poor heartbroken mother who didn't know what to do with Attack on Titan manga series. It would explain why it was so cheap. Like, she could have charged more. But I mean, if her son died and she just wanted to get rid of the books, then, you know, I've just concocted this entire story in my head just based off a Pokemon card. But why would you stop reading here? They must have died. Because I was so shocked by a lot of things that happened in this arc. I don't think this is quite my favourite arc so far, but I've given it an 8 out of 10. So it's the same as the Battle of Trost District. But I think the Battle of Trost District just edges out the female Titan arc right now. I was just shocked by Annie. What? Like, she was the spy. She was the person who killed the two Titans. The two Titans that they were trying to, like, find out more about. So squad leader Hange could figure out more about them. Like, I felt a little bit, but I mean, Hange is a little bit weird. But then again, a lot of characters are. Like, the way that she was crying when she was doing, like, the experiments on the Titans. And she's like, can't you hear them cry? They're in pain too, you know? And, like, she's crying. And I'm like, wow, interesting. She has a lot of empathy. Considering what the Titans have done, there's just... But saying that though, there are so many layers because, again, like with another arc, we find out more about them. Like, what in the world? Like, are there Titans? Like, Colossus Titans inside the walls? What? When we first saw that panel, and it was a terrifying panel as well, my heart just stopped beating. My blood went cold. And it happens every single time we see a massive Titan. Like, the 2 times the Colossus Titan kicked through the wall. But I'm talking about this point when Mikasa stops the female Titan / Annie from scaling the wall. She looks at this, like, crack in the wall. And she sees that. She sees that just staring through. And for a second I just thought, oh, God, the Colossus Titan has returned. It's going to kick the wall down. But no, as it turned out in the next chapter after that, it seems like there might be Colossus Titans just like lined up in the walls. And maybe it's them having hardened that has created this wall. I don't know. I'm still so early on in the series, but it already feels like I've read so much and I still know little. And it's the same with the characters. I love the kind of progression that we're having with them because it seems like they're learning so much at the same time. Although that minister person seems to know a lot more than he was letting on. And there was like this whole group that seem to worship the walls and they call them like gods, and I think that's quite interesting. That could come back and bite us in the bum. I don't know why, but I'm a little bit dubious when it comes to groups of people who believe a certain thing. It could go either way in fiction, so I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. Love the fact that they were in the middle of praying when the female Titan just like barged in. But yeah, this arc was intense. It had me quite scared. Early on in the arc when the Survey Corps are outside of the wall and they're doing their bits and bobs in Erin, because like there's this castle that they would use as a base, but there was like this mission where they're all kind of separated, and then out of nowhere this massive female titan comes, runs after them, it catches up to Armin, pulls his hood back, looks, and it's just like, nah, you're good. I was like, wait, what? We have another, like, intelligent titan. We have another one. And then they mentioned that, oh, this is probably a human controlling a titan. And I was like, who is it? Who is it? I actually thought, part of me thought, oh, is that Mikasa? Just because she was, like, sort of part of the family, like Erin's family. And Erin's dad could have done experiments to her at some point. I just thought maybe it runs in the family. But no, freaking Annie. I didn't expect it. Annie's been so, not exactly quiet so far. She's definitely been present, and I've liked how silent she kind of is. Like, she gives her opinion every now and then. She makes a comment every now and then. I feel like I like her a lot more now that she's kind of like an enemy. I really want to know more about her. I think there's something to do with her dad. I think her dad was like, promise me you'll come back to me or something like that. I don't know what's going on there, but I think there are some layers, some levels there when it comes to Annie that I'm really very excited to peel back and see. But anyway, when we first met the female titan, I was terrified. It was so intense, so suspenseful. The way that she ran, the way that she was so direct, in the way that she just like crushed people. There was actually an amazing moment with Rena, I think his name is pronounced, when it looked like Armin was going to get killed by her. In Rena, it looked like he'd been like crushed by her hand, but he just like slices through her fingers, and that was so cool. Some of the characters look a little bit similar to me at the minute. I guess it might be the art style, and sometimes the action can also be down to the art style that I'm finding sometimes a little bit harder to follow. I'm really finding Levi badass as well. I love how we had that whole moment when the female titan is running after Erin, and Levi is like, I mean, if you want to turn into a titan, go ahead. It's not the wrong thing to do, but it's going to be your choice. He's like so cool, you know, and it's like, I'm trying to work him out as well. I feel like you do have to learn to trust him a little bit, and that's kind of the struggle that Erin had in this arc, which is why I kind of like this one in terms of exploring Erin's like internal struggles, him learning to trust the people around him, the other members of the Survey Corps. And I felt awful for like Petra, Gunther, Eld, like that whole group. Oh, broke my heart when the female titan just killed them, which again, strike against Annie for like killing some of our own. I don't know if she can ever really be redeemed. But that whole sequence in the Titan Forest was freaking fantastic. Even the art of the trees was actually really nice. It's probably the better drawn parts of this manga. So all of the action that happened there was really interesting to follow, because I thought it was just so well drawn. But also just that entire sequence was so freaking exciting. The way that Eren does end up turning into a titan himself, tries to fight against the female titan, and they do end up catching her. I tell you what was freaking scary though. Which bloody volume was it in? It's during the fight with Eren, the fight between Eren and the female titan, and Annie goes to bite Eren, takes his head off. Oh, but firstly though, this epic bloody amazing spread. Oh, like, I love everything that happened in this bloody Titan Forest. Like, this fight was so exhausting. It lasted quite a while. And even when I thought it was all over, it wasn't, because we had the Annie betrayal. Oof, yeah, like, she ends up taking off his head. And then when she goes in for, like, the kill, like, this panel right here, oh my god. That just, again, sends shivers down my spine. But the balance of the action and the mystery in this arc was superb. I might end up putting it above Battle of Trost District. I'm not 100% sure yet. But I feel like now, especially after the fumblings of the 104th, whatever the previous arc was called, after that kind of fumbled for me, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that, I was a little bit concerned. But this like totally restored my faith in the series. Totally made me that much more excited to continue on. It had pretty much everything that I kind of want from the series. It had the action, it had more things about the Titans, other little things that we've learned, like how the Titans are actually a bit lighter than we initially realised, despite their size. Like say when they pick up a severed limb, like it's actually surprisingly quite light. Also sunlight. Apparently sunlight either kills them or like zaps all of their strength. So at the end when they have to cover up some of the wall so that the sunlight doesn't get on them, I'm like, ooh, can you imagine if something happens where the Titans inside the wall, like, I don't know, combust and like the wall comes down? What? The possibilities of that are endless, and I'm still so surprised. Like, a few surprising things happened in this arc. And on top of that, some fantastic character moments. Mikasa, I think, might be my favourite character. I think she's so awesome. The way that she does try and stop Annie from going up the wall, and she does stop her from going up the wall, the way she slices off her fingers and everything, oh my god, she's just incredible. And I'm also loving how strategic and smart Armin is. Like, the way that he kind of works out. Although, this was another twist, actually. I forgot to mention. Why did I forget to mention this? But so much happened. So, like, when Armin gets Annie to join them on the mission, and then they're going into, like, the underground tunnel thing, and Annie won't go in, and then revealed that she is the female Titan. But, like, Armin is saying, you had Marco's maneuvering equipment. Why? And like, he has put 2 and 2 together, and it was an ambush. They were actually ambushing Annie, and they kept that from me, the reader, so I felt ambushed. Oh god, like, so yeah, Armin, so smart. In fact, actually, Eren might be my least favourite of the 3 of them. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like him, and I love when he's in his Titan form and all of that, but I don't know, I just like Armin and Mikasa more. And then the whole arc ends on another freaking cliffhanger. We got another war breached. Like, after 100... and was it 105, 107 years of peace? Shit has hit the fan all at once. It's been non-stop attacks, non-stop walls being breached, and it's Wall Rose now. Wall Rose is being breached. I'm like, are they ever going to get a break? Okay, you guys might either love me or hate me after I tell you my thoughts on the Clash of the Titans arc. I'm still processing. Firstly, before we do talk about the arc though, I did watch the very first 2 episodes of the anime, so that was the entire fall of Shiganshina arc. I still don't know how to pronounce things because I watched the subbed version, so I had the original Japanese voices on with the English subtitles. It's the way I like to watch my anime. Unless I'm trying to do something at the same time and I'm like a little bit distracted, I might watch the dub, but I much prefer doing the sub version. But anyway, the art is great. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes so much. I actually found myself following along the action a lot more easier too. Although, is this censored? I don't know if maybe it's the Blu-ray that's censored or if it's the anime itself, but like, for instance, when Eren's mum gets eaten, it's not as graphic as it is in the manga. In fact, and actually it might happen in the manga, I don't think it did though, but the Titan that eats his mum, I think she kills her before she eats her, so she doesn't like suffer, which is interesting because I don't recall that happening in the manga. I think she's still alive when she's getting put into her mouth, and you don't see her legs like sticking out of her mouth. So is the entire show like censored, especially when it comes to the Titans eating people? Because that's odd. Like, this is a very violent and very brutal series, so yeah, I just find that a very odd choice if that's the case. But no, I really enjoyed it, really like the art style of it, I really like the soundtrack. Oh my gosh, the theme song was getting me so hype. I really want to continue it, and I will definitely continue. I have the first season, the entire first season. I'll get more, and I'll end up watching this in my own time. But anyway, back to Clash of the Titans. So this was almost going to be like my favourite, I mean, actually, it is. It's my favourite arc so far, so put the pitchforks down. It's still only getting an 8 out of 10 though. And it was so close to being like a 9 out of 10. I don't know how I feel about the reveal. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what reveal I'm talking about. The Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan being Reina and Bertold being the Colossal Titan. I was so pissed off. I'm sorry. I was so mad. I was so angry and I was so disappointed. This is what I've been waiting for. And that's how you tell me? Oh no. Seriously, Bertold, I haven't even mentioned him once so far in this video because I don't really have any thoughts and feelings on him, well, up until this point. And so, like, him being the Colossal Titan, the whole reason this story has just like kind of unfolded the way it has from volume 1, the catalyst of the action of the story, it was him? He is the Colossal Titan? What? I mean, to be fair though, Reina and Bertold being those Titans is shocking. It is epic. It is epic. I just hate the way it was told to me. I hate it so much. I was waiting for the big reveal. I was waiting. I wasn't sure when it was going to happen, and I was so excited for when it did happen because I was getting, you know, the suspicion that the Colossal Titan, the way that it just disappears, has to be a person, right? Armored Titan as well. He was very mysterious and I wanted to know more about him, and I was just waiting for the big reveal because it's the reveal. Ugh. Like, I thought it was a joke. I thought, what are you talking about? Like, is he joking? Is he joking? This part here in the manga, like, they're just talking generally. Like, so they're in the background, Eren, Reina, and Bertold. But say, like, the squad leader is just, like, chatting. Just chatting. Let's worry about safely transporting Emma? I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. For now, there are still Titans on the ground after all. And, like, they're just talking, like, battle strategy. They're just talking about general shit. And then in the background, Of the panels, this is Raina. 5 years ago, we destroyed the wall and began our attack on humanity. I'm the armored titan and he's the colossus titan. That's how you're gonna tell me? Seriously? And like, yes, you do find out like in the next few pages, because I was like, what? There's no way, shut up, like this is a joke. I was just like laughing along like, yeah. And I continued reading, I was like, wait, hang on. He's not saying it's a joke, what? What are you talking about? And then we do get a little bit of a flashback thing, exactly the same way it happened with Annie being the female titan. The way that Armin says about how Raina got away from the female titan. And I mean, this was an epic reveal, like it really is, like it's so clever. It actually turned out that it seemed like Raina had written Eren's whereabouts on the female titan's hand, because she was looking for him at the time, and it looked like Raina had saved Armin, and that's great and stuff, and like I love that moment. I even mentioned it when I was talking about that arc. We only find out after the reveal any hint of suspicion towards them, the exact same way it happened with Annie. I mean, maybe I'm just dumb, maybe I am, and maybe I should have realized sooner that Raina and Bertolt were Colossus and armored, but I didn't. I did not. So the way that they're literally just in the background of a panel. Oh, 5 years ago we started attacking humanity. I'm the armored titan, he's the colossus. Come join us, Eren. Come with us. What? Oh my god, I was so angry. Because as soon as I realized, I was like, hang on. What? I was so confused. I was so pissed off. Like, I do love the idea of, like, Raina, for instance, being the armored titan. Like, it's a betrayal again. I can't trust anyone. My capacity to trust anyone at this point has been severely severed. You know, we have Annie, we have Raina, we have Bertolt, even she can turn into a titan. That was a great reveal. But I'm like, at this point, is there anybody who can't turn into a titan? Is everyone able to do this? Because I was surprised by Ymir doing it. Like, she was incredible. I mean, I love her. She does confuse me though. The same with Raina and Bertolt. I might have to reread this arc to really get what they're trying to accomplish and what they're saying. It's the whole conversation, because Eren and Ymir get taken by Raina and Bertolt, and they're talking in the trees, and like Ymir wants to get Krista, which is fine and all well, like that makes sense and stuff, but like just the things that she ends up saying, the way that Raina is coming across as, I'm just confused. Like, it seems like Raina might have some kind of split personality. Like, this is why I'm kind of like feeling a little bit better about the reveal, because with him, he seems so torn. He is almost got like a kind of split personality between a warrior and a soldier. And it seems like both of those things are really fighting with one another. It's almost like he's fighting himself, because he also wants to still protect Krista. It almost feels like, and I know I'm missing so much information because a lot still hasn't been revealed, but it does feel like there is something else I need to know. There is someone maybe in higher power that is pulling the strings here. I don't know, like, I don't know what it is, or like why 5 years ago they would do what they did and just expect Eren to be fine with it. Like, what? I'm not going to try and penalise it too much, because I think I will maybe understand more what the hell is going on. I feel so disoriented, which is probably the point. It really is. But like, I'm so frustrated because there was so many other things I really enjoyed about the arc too. Like, that was making it like a 9 out of 10. For instance, where the hell were these titans coming from? Because they were scouring the walls. They couldn't find a hole in the wall. And then they come across Connie's village, and there is a titan that resembles his mum, and the titan says, "Welcome home, Connie." And it's like, wait, hang on. Are people within the walls being turned into titans? Is that why the village was destroyed, but yet there's no blood? Like, why would the titans destroy a village if there wasn't anyone there to kill and eat? You know what I mean? I found that so good. I love the beast titan thingy-mabobby, the one with the hair. Oh my gosh, like that thing, another intelligent creature. Who is that? Who else is in the 104th Corps? Because it's got to be one of them, right? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Mikasa? Is she the Beast Titan? Huh? Who else is left? Sasha? I don't think that's possible, but still. I'm just looking now to see like who resembles a beast. Levi? That beast was terrifying, and it was speaking as well. And it took the maneuvering equipment. I was like, what does it want that for? It might not be one of the people that we know then, because they would know what the maneuvering equipment is. They would need to ask what that meant. So scratch what I just said about the 104th Survey Corps. Although I wouldn't be surprised if another one turned into a Titan at this point. But that beast Titan was way too intelligent. I love the design of it as well. It's so good. I love that more new Titans are being introduced even to this point. Oh my gosh, there's like this is really ugly one with like a massive head. This like ugh. The designs of them are still making me feel uncomfortable. Oh, I really like Sasha in this arc. She came across a child whose mother was getting eaten by a Titan right in front of it, and Sasha couldn't quite slay the Titan to save the mother, but she does get the child out of there, and then the Titan follows. And I loved when she was trying to get the arrows to pierce its eyes to blind it. That was so epic. Like, I was a little bit unsure with Sasha because she keeps being weird, but like also she's so relatable because she keeps eating things, which again, I'm wondering if that's going to be something. Is that going to be something? This series has made me so paranoid. Like, what secrets does everyone else have, huh? It could literally just be that she's hungry, especially given her upbringing. But still, loved her moments, so I really do like her. And I do love Ymir. Like, she is so complex. Like, I can't quite read her. I don't know if she, like, really loves Krista. Ooh, who actually turns out to be called Historia. That was a really good reveal too. I really like that. And I think she's, like, part of, like, the royal bloodline. So she is supposed to know some of the secrets of the world. Some of the secrets of the walls. I need to know more. And I'm wondering, does Ymir love Krista? Like, is there a genuine romantic love there? Or is it more like a friendship love? Like, it could be either of them, especially since it kind of juxtaposes Mikasa and Eren. It does look like Mikasa might have bigger feelings for him, and like Eren obviously wants to protect Mikasa too, but I can't quite tell as well if Mikasa's feelings are romantic love or kind of sibling love, because they have been growing up together a little bit, especially since Eren's family took her in, so she's kind of like an honorary stepsister in a way. I don't know how to read that situation, and I don't know if maybe she is just still so grateful to Eren for what he did for her in the past. She does kind of end this arc by saying, Eren, thank you for reminding me how to live. So maybe it's just like, I don't know, like some of the character relationships and situations are like so complex at this point. I really do feel like the manga is getting stronger and stronger with the character arcs and the character journeys at this point. Even if some of the decisions do bamboozle me, like the reveal of the Colossal and the Armored Titan being the way it was revealed. And I'm grappling with it. I think it's just like initial disappointment that that's how I find out. Give me some more time. I might come round. The Reyna and Eren fight though, like the Armored Titan and Eren's Titan fighting, that was epic. That was fantastic. In the way that Eren was trying to like use his what he learned from like Annie, for instance, against him. That was so cool. Like, I'm loving the fights in Attack on Titan. I love the way that they battle the Titans and like the suspense of it all and the fast-pacedness of it all. It's constantly action-packed. It's constantly fast-moving. This arc itself sometimes slowed down a little bit to a snail's pace and then like revved back up again. So I guess that's another reason why it wasn't like a higher rating for me. I'm trying to wait for an arc that has that perfect balance between like the action and the like slower sections of it. I feel like we're very close to having that perfect balanced arc. So yeah, Eren and Ymir get taken. I really did enjoy the scenes in the Titan Forest, and I was just sitting there waiting for an explanation. Like, why? Why would you do this? And what has Ymir done? Because I think they're trying to take, like, this is why all the confusion comes in. I think they're trying to take Ymir to, I think they said, like, to their home or something. And I think Ymir committed a crime or something. Or, like, I'm gonna have to look this up or something. But did she do something to get, like, outcasted? And, like, if she goes back there, she will be sentenced to death or jailed or something? Because she was talking about taking Krista / Historia, and she was trying to, like, save herself. And if she takes her there, that would save her life or something? I don't know. I feel like Eren's feelings are so justified though when they're all talking, because he did witness his mum getting eaten alive, and that was because of Bertold. So yeah, fuck him, right? Like, how do you make up for that? How do you justify doing what they did? This is why I'm, like, excited to find out. It better be a good explanation. And even then, it doesn't really have to be, like, a good explanation. If they just want to be evil, then great, that's fine. Like, I don't mind that. I'm conflicted because I don't think they're just wanting to be evil. I think there's something deeper there. They're doing something. I think someone else is pulling the strings. I think they have some kind of idea about the world and they think they're doing the right thing. I don't know. I did love the ending of this arc too, though. We saw the Titan that ate Eren's mum, so I love like how we came full circle with that moment. And Mr. Hans, I think, like, yeah, he tries to fight it to like make up for back then, but ends up dying, bless his heart, R.I.P. But it was actually the moment when Eren transforms and he's a Titan, and he slams the Titan that killed his mum, and the other Titans come and start eating and like tearing her apart. And I'm like, wait, what does that mean? Like, can Eren control the Titans? Can he like hit a Titan and it's like a target, and the other Titans will then come to that target? Is that what's happening right now? There were so many reveals, so many things revealed about the world and like characters and stuff that like I have more questions. I definitely have more questions. And is Yuma a goddess? Or is she just like speaking in a sort of metaphorical sense? What is going on? Like the end of this arc was so good. It was messy. I feel like it was still a little bit messy, but that's kind of great because it's not a perfect world and the characters are still learning how to navigate this world, really. I'm still trying to navigate it as a reader, but I'm paranoid about every single character now. I'm suspicious of a lot of them. I don't believe a single word anyone says anymore. I think I'm just gonna get stabbed in the back again. I think everyone can turn into a Titan, and I don't know how, but they just seem to keep turning into them. I need to know what's in that bloody basement, like stat. Like stat, I need to know. I don't want to be confused anymore. I need to know. I don't know how you guys did this weekly or monthly or however often Attack on Titan came out when it was being released. I don't know how you did it. This would have killed me off. Okay guys, don't hate me. I didn't love this arc either. Ugh. I love the information that we got. I love getting some answers to things such as Eren's dad, and like I'm kind of blown away by a lot of the information we're given. But this was a very info dumpy arc. There was so much exposition. I kind of felt like I was drowning a little bit in all of the text and all of the information that we were given. I couldn't really have time to process some of the stuff before we kind of moved on to something else. And I kind of had a little bit of a hard time following along at times, but also I found myself getting a little bit bored. And I'm so sorry, I really hate saying that because I still am so enamored by the world. Like, I think at this point of the story, I feel like the characters are the driving force because I'm really enjoying the characters. I'm really starting to love like Krista, for instance. Eren is really coming through and is showing like true main character energy. Other people have taken a little bit of a backseat, like Mikasa. She hasn't really done too much, even though I think she's still one of my favorites. But I think at this point in the game, I guess the characters are overtaking the plot for me. Whereas to begin with, it was the plot, it was the world building, it was the mystery of what's going on in the world that was my biggest takeaway from the series and what I was enjoying the most about the early parts of the series. And now we kind of moved. So like it is focusing on world building now, but I'm kind of more invested in the characters at this point. So I don't know if those things are like clashing for me at the minute. Because we're getting so much history and so much information, it meant that characters didn't really, well, some of the characters didn't really get to shine a lot. Although I will say that this was definitely like Krista's arc. This was also Eren's arc. Also some really good stuff with Levi. But I'm just not a fan of political stuff. I'm not really a fan of political fantasies. And I think this arc just dealt so much with politics and overthrowing the royal government and the plans to do that. I mean, yes, it's exciting, but I am not really that invested in that kind of storyline. Just like I'm not really invested in military training storylines, which is what the other arc that I didn't like also focused on. This one was focusing on the politics and overthrowing the government and all of this, that, and the other. Like, yeah, there was like an uprising, there was a rebellion, but it was like more clever and subtle than that. There wasn't like any big battles in order for power or anything. There was more like sneaky stuff. There was more things happening behind the scenes that I think was still really intriguing, but again, just didn't really capture my full imagination. Like the negotiations with the boss of the merchant person, stuff like that was like really heavily focused on. Whereas the things I was most interested in at the start of this arc was things like the idea that the Beast Titan was turning an entire village into Titans. That was really intriguing. Like, I don't know the full backstory there, but I wanted to know more about that. I also really enjoyed the fact that we got more of Historia and like her backstory. I felt so bad for her, the fact that she was kind of sheltered from other kids and other kids would like throw things at her, or like even when she tried to hug her own mother, her mother like pushed her away and she was like kind of like I wish you were dead kind of thing. Like I felt so bad for her, which is why it was like such a great arc for her by the end of it, when her dad Rod Reese, when he is telling her all of this information that we need to know about the royal bloodline and the fact that she is like part of this royal bloodline, but also Like, again, I'm like trying to wrap my head around everything. The fact that she has to eat Eren so that she can get the powers back of the Titans from the royal bloodline, because she needs that to stop the Titans. Like, she needs it to save humanity, because Eren's dad killed the Reese family and he stole the powers. And like, as I'm talking about this, it seems a little bit ridiculous to me, just like based off of the very initial premise of the story. All this stuff going on, like when a Titan eats another Titan, they can take their powers kind of thing. Like stuff like that, I'm just like, okay, it's like kind of losing me a little bit. But it did really make for like a fantastic scene when Eren is captured and he's like tied up like this. And then Rod is talking to his daughter, Historia / Krista, and like trying to convince her to eat him and stuff. And she's like, oh god, what did she say? She said, I may be humanity's enemy, but I'm your friend, Eren. So when Eren is like, yes, eat me, take the powers, stop the Titans, I will give up myself for that to happen. Like a great self-sacrificing moment that really just proved Eren's strength of character. Love that. But also the fact that Krista chose, like, no, I'm your friend. I might be humanity's enemy, but I'm your friend. And I love any kind of themes of friendship. And I think that's kind of what this arc lacked until like certain aspects of it, like especially at the end between like Krista and Eren. I loved the building of their friendship and their relationship, especially if Historia is now like 2 months later queen. That's great, but like I don't really care about royal stuff. Like I really don't care about people being made princesses and queens, and like initially I was like, why do we even have a royal family? Because like with royal families, I think they're just like trying to be figureheads that negotiate for peace from other nations. And it was kind of explained that really the king is just there as the symbol of human prosperity. That's what they mentioned. So I was like, okay, I can understand that. They want to have, you know, this civilization where there is like a certain structure to keep things being normal, to give the citizens someone to believe in, I guess, or, you know, just like things like that. I can totally understand that, but I just don't like royal politics. I just don't really care a whole lot for it, especially in the way that I was told. It was just like exposition upon exposition upon exposition. It was like a lot, like a lot. Like it would have been great if it had been just like, I don't know, sprinkled out a little bit more amongst other scenes, and maybe there was like a little bit more action to kind of balance it a little bit more. But if I'm going to take anything from all of the political stuff, it is the idea that nobody knows who to trust. Nobody knows who they can believe in power. I think it's Jean who says, I don't even know who the enemy is anymore. And like, is it the Titans, or is it the people within? Is it the government? Is it the fake king and stuff? So I kind of like the exploration of that. Again, like it goes with a theme of betrayal that we've had in the previous couple of arcs, where I felt betrayed by certain characters in the way that they revealed who they really were. I love the fact that we do have like this sort of like desperate tone to this arc. It felt extremely necessary. I'm glad it's happened. I'm glad that the government was challenged and overturned. And even when it looked like things were looking terrible, our side kind of like rose up and proved that they were smarter. And I love the whole scene. I think it was when Erwin was on trial and somebody bursts in saying, oh, Wall Rose has been breached. And then the people in power, like the government, were like, oh, well, like, close the gate, don't let any refugees in, like, just let them die kind of thing. And that was when the tables turned. It was the Survey Corps and the people on our side that proved that the government are the bad guys. Like, the government need to be overturned. Like, there needs to be different people in power for this civilization to thrive, because obviously they don't have the citizens' best interests at heart. So I do love scenes like that. I love being able to see when the challenging of the government was, you know, had, instead of being told things in monologues. And it just didn't fare very well for me personally. And I don't think this, like, again, I do still have hope for the rest of the series. I don't think this part was written very well. I do like Kenny the Ripper, for instance, and I like the relationship with Levi and his backstory, but I kind of hate how he was introduced. So Levi is on top of a roof with someone else, and just very randomly in the conversation, one of them brings up Kenny the Ripper and how he had killed people. And this is the very first time we ever hear about Kenny the Ripper. And then, like, 2 pages later, maybe even on the next page, Kenny the Ripper appears. I'm like, ugh. I kind of hate that. Like, that was extremely lazy, especially when you see the connection between Levi and Kenny, which, again, I love the connection between them. I love the fact that Kenny had kind of raised Levi in a way, like he said, oh, I don't want to be his dad, like I'm not the kind of man to be his dad, but I will teach him how to survive kind of thing. I love that. It really does add so much more levels to Levi, for instance. But I just hate the way that he was introduced because it just felt like a totally last minute addition. There was no build up to it, and then he just randomly appears. It just, like, it lost me there as well. And I felt my faith in the series loosen a little bit during this arc because I didn't know what the mangaka was actually planning or if he actually had a plan. Was the mangaka just winging it and just saying what would happen? I don't know. I still have faith that the rest of the series is going to blow me away and it's going to be amazing. I think I only have 3 arcs left and then it's over. So I think getting this arc out of the way, it was a big thing to learn about what the government were doing, Eren's dad and him pretty much being a monster, killing Frida. Frida sounded amazing. Killing Frida, taking her powers, and just being a Titan in general. Like, again, I keep being surprised by people turning out to be Titans, even though I shouldn't be at this point. But I have a totally different perspective on Eren's dad now. Like, so different. And now I really do need to know what the hell's in that basement. Is he in the basement? Like, what? Oh my god, the Rod Reese, his Titan, when he gets turned into one, is absolutely disgusting and massive and terrifying and scary. I think you could say it's internal organs. Ugh, it was absolutely sick and vile. But I loved that whole sequence. I love the sequence in the cave. I love trying to save Eren and Krista. I just really want to briefly mention this as well because I love this moment so much. It's probably like an underrated moment, but I don't know. I don't know people's feelings on this. But it's when Eren and Armin are talking and Armin says, what's going to happen if you ever meet Rhaena and Bertolt again? And then Eren ... I have to kill them. And then Armin says, you want to kill them? And then Eren replies, I have to. So you really do see Eren being so torn about him killing the people who turned out to be the Colossus Titan and the Armored Titan. Like, he has to kill them. He doesn't want to. You can tell that by the fact that he kind of avoided using that word when Armin mentioned it. He has to. And I think that does set the stage for the final 3 arcs. I think there's going to be a huge internal struggle with Eren moving forward that I think is going to be incredibly delicious to watch. Because obviously we'll be building up to the finale at this point now. So I'm just ready for that. So I feel like a necessary arc in the Royal Government arc, just really not a favourite of mine. But I do still think it edges the 104th Training Corps arc. So I'm going to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. I am still so appreciative of all the information that we got. I'm so appreciative that there are some like mysteries that I can kind of envision a little bit better now. But I was just overwhelmed with the information and underwhelmed by the plot, if that makes sense. Shout out to Hange being unhinged though. Left or right, which testicle do you need less? Oh, what an absolute queen. That's my queen right there. I can't wait to see what Queen Historia does, but it's Queen Hange all the way. Okay, the Royal Government arc was a test, wasn't it? It was a test to see if you are dedicated enough and if you deserve to experience the Return to Shiganshina arc. It's not quite a 10 arc for me. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10, which does make it my favourite arc so far. I can't get over a lot of the developments in this. Oh my god, I just feel like so much happened. And there was like this string of chapters in, I guess more like the middle towards the end, where literally all hell was breaking loose and I wasn't sure who was gonna make it out alive, essentially. Like, the stakes were actually really high and I was so worried for some of it because, for instance, when they're in Shiganshina and it looks like a character dies but then they don't die. Like, say Rhaena, for instance, when Eren is fighting Rhaena and it looks like Rhaena is dead but he's actually not. I was like, oh god, this is gonna pull a One Piece, isn't it? Because I love One Piece with everything I have, but I don't like the fake out deaths. And it happened again with Armin. And at that point I was like, I didn't want him to die. But after what he did, like with the Colossus Titan, and he gets so close to him that it literally like, burns him alive. And I'm like, how does anyone survive that? And Armin was on the rooftop and he was breathing. And I was like, there's no way, there's absolutely no way. So I was like, okay, it's starting to lose me again. Because if there's anything I hate, it's a fake out death. And it's happened a couple of times now. It even happened with like Bertolt as well. And I wasn't believing that he was going to die anyway. But you know what saved that entire moment for me was I don't mind a fake out death if there is purpose. But what it turned into was a decision between Armin and Erwin, which one gets the injection to turn into a Titan and then eats Bertolt to get the Colossus Titan powers. Like, that came out of nowhere for me and I was like, oh my god, you know what? I love that. I love that so much. Especially since I was like, okay, just let Armin die. I don't want him to die, but I hate fake out deaths, so let him die. And then as soon as that injection, like, who are they going to choose kind of thing happened, I was like, you know what? This is actually genius. Like, I love this. And I feel so bad for Erwin as well. He never achieved his dream. He wanted to see the basement. And this was all just before they went into the basement and saw what happened. So, like, so much happened in this arc that I was just genuinely so excited for. So let me go back to the start. I feel like this arc, it does still have, like, the exposition. It still has the backstory. But I feel like it was done in a much better way than what we've had previously. Like, it felt like it was a little bit more purposeful whenever we were told something from the past or given some information, especially to do with Grisha, Erin's dad. Like, that whole thing with Marley and, like, all the stuff that was happening there and, like, outside the... What? I didn't feel too overwhelmed. I mean, it's overwhelming information. We're still getting so much information, but I think it was, like, in a much more better way than we have had in the past. So I think at this point, the mangaka has definitely improved and the storytelling definitely got a lot better and a lot stronger here. I still wouldn't say it was, like, quite perfect to me just yet, which is why I'm giving it, like, an 8.5 and, like, not a little bit higher. Although I'm actually starting to reconsider that. Maybe I might give it a 9 out of 10. I don't know. Like, again, we'll find out at the end if I stick to the ratings and the rankings of the arcs. But I was very excited to go back to Shiganshina. I wanted to see how it looked. I wanted to see, like, how time had affected it. And yeah, time had definitely affected it. It kind of looked quite nice when some parts of it were being reclaimed by nature. And it just looked so desolate and so scary in a way too. Like, it was kind of peaceful, but kind of not. Also, the idea that Bertolt and Raina would be hiding somewhere, and all of that was, like, adding to the suspense and the scariness of it. And I love the fact that Armin got to take charge. Like, he was given his own little group. And I was like, do you know how far he's come? Like, Armin, I'm so proud of you. The last time he was in Shiganshina, he was being beat up and he needed, you know, his friends to, well, he didn't ask them to, like, they just appear because they're great friends, but, like, he needed his friends to, like, save him from that. So the fact that we're back in Shiganshina, back where it all began, and Armin is a totally different person, I'm like, has anyone had a greater character arc in this series? I don't think so. So again, like, I would have been so sad if he had died, but when it looks like someone's gonna die, I want that to stick. Especially since we just had the fight between Erin and Raina, and honestly, Raina should not have been alive after that, but he was. Like, there was, like, this whole bullshit stuff about him transferring his consciousness or something. Yeah, he transferred his consciousness to the Titan's nervous system. I'm like... Especially since the fight between them was so hard to begin with. Like, even Eren was trying to harden his own body so that he can get through the armor. And just having that battle strategy shows how much Eren has improved since the last time he was at Shiganshina. And even the last time he fought with Raina. I just feel like a win in that fight would have been deserved. And again, like, you're probably thinking, so you just want everyone to die, Gavin? Like, you want Raina to die? And so, like, no. But, like, if someone looks like they're dead, stay dead. And I do find Raina very fascinating, though. I do still want to know more about the split personality thing he seems to have going on. I want to know more about, like, why he's doing certain things. I want to know more of his backstory and his history. So I'm kind of glad he's still alive, and we will figure more out about him in the future, I hope. So that was epic. Loved it as well when Bertolt turned into the Colossus Titan, and I laughed so much. I know I shouldn't have. I laughed so much when he actually kicked Eren, and Eren just went, like, flying into the wall. I don't know why, but I laughed. And at the same time as this, Levi is fighting with the Beast Titan, which again is probably, like, one of my favorite fights from this arc. The fact that there are so many fights actually that are competing for my #1 fight in this arc speaks volumes to it. I think it really did such a great thing with action and how that balanced with all of the plot reveals. So I'm really appreciative of that. I mean, the Beast Titan is still alive. I kind of, again, just wanted a win. I just wanted a win there. But at the same time, I don't want him to die because of who he turns out to be. He is Eren's older half-brother. He is the son of Grisha. When all of that was happening with the reveals with, like, the basement and stuff, I was like, I was on the edge of my seat. I mean, again, this is all over the place, but, like, not as much on the edge of my seat as when they were deciding who gets the injection. I do feel so bad for Erwin, but Armin is the man, the myth, the legend. He is the one who I feel like has just... Well, he deserved it. He was the one who, like, took on the Colossus Titan himself. Well, I say took on. He, like, sacrificed himself to give Eren an opening. If anyone deserves to inherit the Colossus Titan powers, it's Armin. So I do feel like Armin deserved it. I mean, again, there is still an argument for Erwin, and that's kind of something that I think we're going to tackle going forward. Like, with Armin, will he have survivor's guilt? Also, other people in, like, the military who gave them grief about, like, oh, you chose Armin over Erwin because of your feelings. But it was so exciting. Like, even Levi was about to give it to Erwin. I was like, And then he gave it Armin. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So yeah, Armin is now the Colossus Titan. I just never would have expected it. Seriously. Like from the very first page when we see that friggin' monster standing over the wall and how scared I was of him. Oh my god, like I'm not scared of him anymore, which is kind of sad. Like I kind of wanted to be still scared of the Titans throughout. But again, like now we know a lot more about them. They were humans. They were turned by the Marley government and they were pushed into paradise when all of the prisoners were like getting executed and stuff. So like that was incredibly hard to read. Oh my god, and as well, like Grisha, his wife, who turned out to be the Titan who eats Eren's mother. Oh my god. I was not expecting that. Are you kidding? Oh my god, like even that whole like flashback sequence with the dad and the whole Marley stuff. And like, I'm not the biggest fan of, again, like things that lean heavily into like governments and power like that. You know, stuff like that just doesn't really like interest me all that much. But I am quite interested in, you know, Marley and the way that they've been going about this world. The fact that there are people outside of the walls. Learning more about like how the Titans came to be. And Ymir and splitting her soul into like the 9 Titans, I think it was. Honestly, there is like so much myth and lore to this. I will probably get it eventually. But now what Ymir said earlier on about being a goddess, that makes sense now, especially if she's named after one. So I do like the fact that this seems like things are coming together. Like some of the loose ends are being kind of tied up or, you know, connecting in a way that I thought, oh, maybe some parts of this feel like it's just being written in the moment and there's like not a whole lot of planning. But the manga has proven me wrong, especially with this arc. So yeah, getting into the basement was great. I loved how just normal it looked. It looked like such a normal basement. I was expecting some kind of experiments. Oh, I don't know. I just expected like corpses or like a Titan down there or something. But no, it looked like a normal basement. And there were 3 books with the history in it and a lot of the truths that now everyone knows. It's been published. So that's good. We've definitely gotten a lot more progression with like the people in power and the government and the royalty kind of side of things and who should really be in power. So to learn about the owl, who was the attack titan, and then Grisha eating him when he got saved by the owl, and then knowing that Eren is the attack titan now, I was like, I think I realized at the same time as Eren, I was like, Eren, did you eat your dad? Oh my god, like, how traumatizing is that? Imagine you have no recollection of that, but there's no other way because Eren has inherited the power of the Attack Titan, so that must mean he ate his dad. So he's completely an orphan now. And you know what, I found it like kind of, I don't want to say beautiful really, but I kind of find it poetic in a way, the fact that it was Grisha's old wife, who got turned into a Titan, was the one who ate Eren's mum, so Grisha's new wife. So the old wife ate the new wife. I don't know, like that's so weird, but also kind of poetic. I kind of like that. I love the fact that that connected. And again, I feel so bad for both of the mums. I feel bad for both the wives and they deserved better. And you know what? I felt a little bit bad for Grisha too. I might have called him monster in a previous arc, and he kind of still is. Like, I feel bad for Historia's family and the way that he killed them, and especially Historia's half-sister Frida. Like, she didn't deserve to die at his hands. Like, that's so awful. But I could kind of understand in a way that he was fighting for Eldia, I think, and was trying to overthrow Marley. And you know, in war, there are casualties. You sometimes have to do things that you don't want to do, and it can make you question your own humanity. And so I do appreciate a lot of the stuff that Grisha had to go through. I feel so bad, especially about his sister being killed as well, when he just wanted to show her the airships. Like, that was traumatizing. Like, my heart broke for him and his sister. But yeah, he's kind of done some irredeemable things. I mean, him being in Eren's stomach now. I guess that's kind of like a fair kind of punishment for what he did. He also felt, especially when he wouldn't get up, when the owl was talking to him about it, and it looked like he'd given up on life. Like, he let the guilt in and he wanted to like give up. Like, you can tell he feels guilty and you can tell there's a lot of emotional baggage on him. So I'm trying to give him some grace. I also love the idea that history can be rewritten. Like, you could tell an entire nation of people what you want them to believe and they could end up believing it. I love that theme. I love the fact that that's kind of holding up a mirror to our own society. Like, who do you believe? People in power or like other people? Like, it's very hard to know sometimes when you're consuming like history, like whose history it is, which side of history are you consuming, and when people are in power and they're abusing that power, it's very easy for them to manipulate the narrative. There's also a mention like when the owl talks to Grisha, he mentions Mikasa and Armin, and this is obviously before they're born. So who are Mikasa and Armin from beforehand? And why do the Mikasa and Armin from today have the same names as whoever the original Mikasa and Armin are? Like, what's the deal there? Why is that a thing? And also the fact that the owl is called Eren and our main character is called Eren. What is the importance of that trio? What's the importance of those names? Like, explain. Because I think you do get the memories of the previous person when you consume them, which is what happened when Eren had touched Historia, and I think he got like his father's memories. So I probably should have known then that that's what happened, that he ate him. But who did the owl consume to have memories of Mikasa and Armin? I'm so confused. Again, excited to find out why. And genuinely love the ending of this arc too. The fact that they have reached the ocean. And this is a dream come true, especially for Armin, and how happy he is and how close he was to not even being there to see it. I love the fact that Levi as well was like, stay away from it, it could be poisonous. It also just shows you like how sheltered they've been, how much they have been trapped as if in a bird cage, and what they've been missing out on the outside. Yeah, because it was quite a revelation that there were people on the outside and that they aren't the last of civilization and all of that. Yeah, honestly, my mind was just constantly being blown by a lot of the chapters. But the military and like the royalty stuff do drag it down a little bit for me. I'm not really interested in any of that. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10. Might go up to a 9 at the end. Only 2 arcs left? I cannot believe how quickly I am reading this series. Grab yourself a coffee for this section. We have some things to talk about. Firstly, the moral ambiguity of this developing war between nations, between like Marley and Paradis, the shifting perspective of who we think are our enemy and kind of seeing things through their eyes and kind of trying to realize like, who are we fighting? Why are we fighting? And I feel like in this arc there is like this really great critique of war, because we see through the actual people who war affects, through like say the eyes of Raina, or like through the eyes of like Gabby and some other new characters that we meet in this arc who are Marlians, I think it's called. You actually do get to see like how it actually affects the people who are usually the fodder to whoever is in political power to get them to the top kind of thing. And so you really do see how it affects them. And like especially like Raina, like every single arc that goes by, I seem to have this like newfound respect and appreciation for him and what he's been through. Especially when we get the moments between Eren and Raina when they're talking in Marley, which, oh my god, I was like so shocked. I didn't even realize there was like a 4-year time skip. And also the fact that Eren would be like so knee deep into Marley, like he was bang in there. Didn't even realize that was him at the hospital. And I know he's run up a little bit, but I should have realized. But when Eren's talking to Raina, and it feels like Eren has kind of accepted the fact that Raina did what he did when he and Bertold and Annie penetrated the wall at the very start of the series, caused his mother to die, and set off the whole chain of events. He seems to have come to accept it because Eren says, well, if it was to save the world, I guess you didn't have a choice. And that really stuck with me because I'm thinking, well, I feel like everybody in the series is trying to save the world in one way. It just depends on how they were raised. It really depends on their upbringing. Because another thing about Gabby, oh my god, like, I can't talk about it right now because I'm so sad. I'm gutted that she killed Sasha. But there's a part of me that can't blame Gabby too much because, as I was saying, there was a line, ignorant children raised by ignorant adults. And like, oh my god, that line stuck. I got chills, like literally, I got chills just now at the idea and the prospect that all of this war, all of this bloodshed, everything that they're fighting for, and I mentioned this in a couple of arcs before as well because I feel like this theme has kind of been present, but maybe not as present as it has been in this arc. Who's the real enemy? Why are we fighting? Depending on what you're told, you could believe anything when it comes to the history of a place. You could believe that all the people in Paradis are devils because that's what you've been told, that's what you've been raised to be taught. And I kind of love the fact that we have Gabby, who, honestly, I really liked her to begin with. I feel like I still like her. I know she killed Sasha, but I feel like herself, like she's kind of a vessel at this moment, like a storytelling vessel, where we have to see exactly the tragic implications of an upbringing where you are pitted against other people for all of the wrong reasons and given all of like the wrong information, and you know, like you're raised to believe a certain way, you're raised to be a bigot essentially. Like I feel like you could apply this theme to so many different cultures in our world, like our actual world, and apply it to Attack on Titan, and also like the way it critiques that, because Gabby, she killed poor innocent Sasha. I mean, again, Sasha isn't all that innocent too. Sasha's also, you know, had to do things in her military training. She's had to see things and she's been forced to do things in order to survive, and what she's been told from like command and all of this, that and the other. It's like this horrible circle of violence. It just keeps getting perpetuated as we continue on with the story, and it's so heartbreaking because you're seeing the actual people it's affecting. Poor Gabby, like she could have had a totally different life. You know, like she has so much hatred in her heart that she would go up into that airship thing and just shoot anywhere, and poor Sasha is just the one who ended up getting hit and dies. Oh, like meat. She loves meat. Like she reminds me so much of Luffy, but Sasha didn't deserve that, man. I mean, we all have blood on our hands. I think that's kind of what this arc is trying to convey. We all have blood on our hands, and there are going to be so many casualties in this war. And it's deep. It is deep. But I do want to reiterate that I am looking at all the positives. I am looking at the amazing themes that are being explored. But I don't love military-heavy stories. I don't really love war-heavy stories. Like, I just don't gel with them all that much. I always appreciate the messages that they convey, but it's kind of not what I wanted from this series. And again, like what I want from the series is totally different to what the mangaka is actually gonna give us. You know, he's telling the story, it's his story to tell, but it's just totally different to how I started the series. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I really respect and appreciate the fact that a lot of the pieces are coming together, and that it's actually telling like such a brilliant story. Like I'm giving it credit where credit is due. It is a brilliant story. I'm loving the critique on war in all of this, but it's just not my thing. And I hope you can respect that. It's not my thing. It was the same with The Walking Dead. I used to love it in the early days, like when I was more scared of the zombies and stuff. And then like the later arcs in the comic book series started to get into more like military stuff and government stuff and political stuff. And I don't like politics. I don't like all of that in stories. Well, I'm kind of hit and miss with it. It really does depend. And that's when it kind of lost me. Like, I just didn't really love the end of The Walking Dead because of that. And I can kind of see Attack on Titan going the same route. And again, I'm not hating on this arc. I'm still going to give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It was dragged down so much with all of the talking. Like, there was just so much talking a lot of the times. And I did get a lot of comments. I just uploaded my manga collection tour and I talked about Attack on Titan. I hadn't read it yet in that video when I filmed it, but the comments on that video are like, it's probably best to do the anime of Attack on Titan. And I honestly agree. I think I would so much more prefer to see this being portrayed rather than all of like the blocks of text and not really a whole lot going on the pages for like so much of it before like something happens. It just feels like I'm being told so much without being shown it. And we're at this point in the story where there is so much that we did need to be told. And so we had to like kind of get there in a quick and efficient route. And that route was to just like tell us. And again, not my favorite narrative choice, but I'm definitely continuing the anime, by the way. Even when I've finished Attack on Titan, even if I don't love the ending, I'm still going to go straight into the anime, and I'm so excited. But other things I really did love about the Marley arc was I loved seeing the past with like Reina and Bertold and Annie, like how they actually came to the wall and like the way that everything started. Like I couldn't believe it was really just the three of them. Well, there was another guy, but he got eaten. That blows my mind to see that perspective, considering how monumental all of that was, just to see how desperate they were to be successful in their mission. Like how it was really just like them three and like how scared they were about going back to Marley and like being failures and stuff. And it's like, I mean, I don't agree with their actions, of course, but like they were told to do it, and like I kind of knew something else would be pulling the strings and stuff. But it's like my feelings are so conflicted with so many things in this. Like I don't think there is really like all of these groups fighting each other. Sometimes there isn't really a, you know, a black and white thing there. There's like so much going into it that I can't. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of Attack on Titan with the anime and just see things in a totally different perspective. And when the hell is Annie gonna wake up as well? I kind of miss her. I was really liking her to begin with, but she's been asleep for so bloody long and she's still asleep. I mean, more power to her. I would do the same thing, like just like, sleep your way through it. Now wake up on the other side when everything's already done. Back to Marley though, back to like the conversations between Eren and Reina. Oh, it was just so fantastic, that whole scene. I love the fact that there was this guy called Willie. who was talking to the people of Marley at the same time. He was giving this like big speech on, you know, having this war against Paradis and like the people of Paradis. And then as soon as he's finished his speech, Eren turns into a Titan, like the attack Titan, and like kills Willy in front of everyone. That was so epic. I freaking love that. And then you see all of the people who we know and love, like Mikasa, she comes and she's pretty badass. We have Levi and a little bit of a fight with the Beast Titan. For a second I thought, oh, did he actually get him this time? But it looks like they've captured him, like they kind of want him to join them, so like they weren't trying to kill him. I'm like, at this point, I don't know who's gonna die unless they're called Sasha. Like when it comes to a Titan, like the Beast Titan or Reina or anything, I never know if they're actually dead. Like they look like they probably just died, but they didn't. But I kind of like the fact that we now have Zeke. I'm interested to know why, like what they're trying to accomplish with that. Also, is there going to be some like scenes between Eren and Zeke, considering they are half brothers? So I'd imagine they have a lot of history. I imagine they have a lot they want to talk about. And I'm kind of concerned by the end of this arc because Armin says something like, he doesn't know Eren anymore. And I'm like, what happened in the past 4 years to make Eren change so much? Like, why doesn't Armin know him that much anymore? What's different? How has the last 4 years changed him? Especially the way that we left, I think it was the end of the Return to Shiganshina arc, where we had them reaching the ocean. They finally achieved their dream. And so everything should be hunky-dory. Everything should be nice. And they should have developed a stronger bond after all that time, surely. But no, like for some reason, Eren is different. He did seem very cool though. I love the end of it as well, the way he was like fight in the mirror. And he's got a great hairstyle now. I'm loving his hair. I'm loving his look. There is some kind of secret plan going on. I don't know what that entails exactly. But there was mention of using the sleeping titans in the walls. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. That's going to cause a lot of destruction. If the walls come down, that's going to be a lot of rubble. Could there be deaths? Could there be a lot of deaths and casualties with that? But also the idea of all of those massive... Well, I guess there's more than one Colossus Titan if there's so many of them in the walls. Unless they're called something else. Maybe there was and I just miss it. But I'm interested to see if that's actually going to turn into something. If they are going to bring the walls down. I'm interested to see what happens with Gabby. Like, I'm really excited to find out what is going to happen there. Because she is still really just a child. And she did something so awful. But then again, they were pitted against one another by society, by the government. So, like, oh my god, I'm so conflicted. But Sasha, I'm so sad still. Every now and then I remember Sasha. Because I finished the arc last night. And every now and then I'm like, oh, meat. And she just tasted seafood for the first time as well. Ugh. God, like, it's tragic. I am so scared to go into the next arc. It's the final arc. Oh, before I move on as well, I loved when Eren said, well, one, we are all the same. But two, the fight with the Warhammer Titan. That was epic. And Eren using the Jaw Titan to break the thing, the hardened thing around the Warhammer Titan. That person who's in the hardened state used the jaws to like crush that and then ate. Oh my god, like that was, I mean, that's sick. It's twisted, but a girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do. So I can't remember if I mentioned, I am giving this one a 7.5 out of 10, but I am gonna also bump up the Return to Shiganshina arc. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 instead of an 8.5 out of 10. That just feels more right to me. I've had a little bit more time to sit on that, and that feels right to me. 9 out of 10. But I do have the final 8 volumes of Attack on Titan now. The final arc. It's massive. It's a big arc. The biggest arc so far. I've been really enjoying how short and punchy the arcs have been. They are nothing like the length of One Piece arcs. Even though the chapters of Attack on Titan are definitely longer than the chapters of One Piece. One chapter of Attack on Titan is probably equivalent to like 2, maybe 3 chapters of One Piece. But I'm so scared. I'm so scared if there's going to be more major character deaths. I'm so scared to see the resolution of this war. Is there going to be a resolution? Sometimes there aren't resolutions in war in real life. So I'm kind of scared of that. What's going to happen with Eren? Has he gone too far? Has he gone way beyond being brought back? This fight between like Marley and Eldians, that's going to be interesting. Will I get more development with Mikasa? Because I love her, but I feel like she's kind of had a bit of a step back in recent arcs. She hasn't been as focused as I'd love. Anyway, yeah, I'm excited to dive in. I can't wait any longer, so I'll see you on the other side. The next time you see me, I'll have finished all of Attack on Titan. I'm scared. I've finished. How do I even start talking about the ending? I don't even know how to begin this section. I really don't. The war on Paradis Arc the final arc, the final full arc, which was so long, such a long arc, and honestly, it's justified. It does need to be long. I genuinely do not know how to feel. I finished this last night, read the last chapter at like 11 p.m, May 15th, 2024, write it down, and I've honestly just been stewing ever since, unsure on what I feel about it. It's like, there are so many epic highs in this final arc, but then I think there are just quite a few lows as well that have really dragged it down for me. And I guess a lot of it does have to do with Eren and his decisions. And I'm a little bit conflicted because there's part of me that realizes that there weren't really that many decisions that he could take. So just to contextualize, Eren has decided to commit a mass genocide in order to make the Eldians look like saviors. And he needed to kill 80% of the human population in order for that to happen. Just for conflict and war to still happen years after Eren is gone. And really, a big part of his legacy that he's left is that he's now essentially a kind of Hitler character, because there are like some societies that are still holding near and dear to Eren's ideals and his ideology, and they're shouting in the streets and they're like, it looks very Nazi, which is probably like maybe the wrong thing I'm taking from this. I do need to watch a whole lot of videos explaining this ending for me to like fully understand and get it. And I didn't want to do that before giving my review and initial thoughts on it, because I don't want those thoughts to like jumble with my thoughts. This is just how it's like come across to me. He has essentially wiped out 80% of the human population just to make his friends look good so that they will be accepted. If his reasoning was like pretty much anything else, I think I would have accepted it. You know, the Fountain Titan's powers have corrupted him. He has become like unstable and evil, and he's just doing all of these things. Because he does say at one point, he just did it because he wanted to. And also that backstory as well, when he killed those men, the ones that took Mikasa as children. And I think that could have been a really good gateway into exploring Eren could just be a psychopath kind of thing. But no, and he was able to see the past, present, and future. So this was really the only thing that he could have done. But why? Because even if he has given his people a few years, maybe hundreds of years of peace, it's still going to come back round. Which again, like that's probably like the heartbreaking reality of the series, is that, you know, the cycle of violence is just going to keep continuing no matter what you do. And that's just so depressing. Like, it's such a depressing ending. And I guess that could also be the point. The point could be that no matter what we do, it's always in our nature, in human nature, to have those disagreements, to have those wars and the battles and the bloodshed. I'm like, okay, but like, this is a fictional story. Like, the themes and the messages, like the critique of war, and even like Hange, I love Hange so much. I'm so sad she died. Oh my god, when she died, I like cried. I was like, this is like the most emotional I've been in this entire series, as well as like when Sasha died too. But like, oh my god, that was so beautiful. And then she saw the ghosts of her fellow comrades, and then, oh, they were like, oh god, that was so emotional. That was so sad. I loved it. But yeah, she even shouts out genocide is wrong, and Eren still goes about like committing that. And like, again, I love the real world parallels there, because there are genocides going on in the world. Like, just look at Palestine. So what is this series saying? Because I thought the Marley Arc did such a fantastic job in looking at the atrocities of war and the effects it's had on the people. The way that it's kind of forced our children to be raised with kind of the ideologies of ignorant adults. And Eren's final plan to commit genocide just perpetuated that cycle of war and death and violence to the point where it didn't matter. And even him wanting to get rid of all of the Titans, I mean, yes, that happened, but now the ending is implying that even that's gonna come back. Or, you know, when the boy and his dog come across the tree where Eren was buried, and it looks like the one where Ymir had like fallen into. So does that mean that the Titans are just gonna come back and the whole thing's gonna start all over again? Like, just from a narrative standpoint, it's absolutely fine if the goal of this series is to portray that whole circle of life, cycle thing, whatever. But as a narrative, as a story, it's the most unsatisfying ending that I could personally get from this series. It reminds me of Animorphs. I don't know if you've ever read Animorphs, but I read that series, and even that had an unsatisfying ending, which again is sometimes the point. Sometimes you don't get everything wrapped up in a pretty bow. You know, it's life, it's war, it's death and life and all of these like amazingly huge concepts. And the end of war is never satisfying because there have been so many losses already, and I don't feel satisfied by a lot of their character arcs. Like, I love the fact that Mikasa was the one, like, she overcame her own feelings and she was the one to take Eren down. Like, she beheaded him while kissing him, which was really weird. I don't ship anyone, I don't ship any romance in this. I also found the moment between Armin and Annie very weird too. I just never really saw any kind of romantic chemistry between them. So when Armin was, you know, talking to her on the boat, I was just like, okay. And then when Eren just randomly starts shouting when he's talking to Armin later on, I think it was like in the path, oh, I don't want Mikasa to move on for like 10 years after I'm gone. And I'm like, where is this coming from? He literally says he wants her to be hung up on him for like 10 years. I'm like, why? Like, earlier in the arc you were saying how much you hated her and despised her and all this, that, and the other. And like, I know like he was probably trying to like push her away for some like inner reasons, but like, I've never once ever felt any kind of reciprocation for Mikasa's feelings to Eren. I never felt that he felt the same way. So it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Let me just like vent for a little bit so I can get my feelings off my chest. I might be wrong in so many things that I'm saying, and honestly feel free to correct me in what I'm saying down below. Correct me with my opinions. That's absolutely fine. This is just like word vomit right now before I like try and structure what I'm trying to say about this arc and like all the things I do love about, because there's so much I do love about this arc. I just found the last few chapters just, I didn't know what I was reading at that point. I mean, it's fine enough for me to say, oh, I would have loved it if this happened, I would have loved it if that happened. The reality is, none of the things that I kind of wanted at the ending happened, and I have to be okay with that because that's not the story that the mangaka wanted to tell, and that's fine. But I'm still struggling to know exactly what the point is. And even if the point is just that the cycle continues and continues and continues, then what was the point in general? I do think it comes back to a lot of what Armin and Zeke were talking about, where Armin was like, what matters is the small moments. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess, you know, like, we're all gonna die eventually, and, you know, it's those bonds we form and all this, that, and the other while we're alive. Yeah, he does have a point, we've just gotta live. Sometimes multiplying is not important. That was like the whole kind of spiel of it. But what I don't understand is why that little talk between Armin and Zeke, and honestly, it wasn't even that big a speech, it wasn't even like that revolutionary of a talk, but it makes Zeke realize what he's doing is wrong and he needs to stop Eren. And I'm like, really? Like, that's what it takes? Like, that's so anticlimactic. And then when he finally comes out of it and like he's like, yes, peace, freedom, that's when like Levi beheads him and the rumbling stops. And I'm like, how? Why is it that when Zeke gets beheaded, that's why the rumbling stops? I know it like has things to do with like royal blood and all this, that, and the other, but Eren can still control the Founding Titan, right? And like Ymir is still attached to him because he was able to transform himself into a Colossus Titan and fight Armin right after that. But I'm like, so why did the rumbling stop? Like, after all of that build-up, after all of the tension and the fear and how scary a lot of this arc is because of the rumbling, that's how it just ends. It's just Zeke getting his head cut off. Right after, a kind of mid-speech, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of mid-speech from Armin to Zeke, and that's what I you know, like, sometimes it's like not exactly the things that have happened that I'm kind of pissed about. It's kind of the fact that a lot of it felt a little bit rushed. It didn't have a whole lot of nuance, and it felt very surface level. A lot of the stuff that the characters are talking about and what they're trying to say, it just feels very surface level. I'm just struggling to understand why this is what stops the rumbling. I did start watching the 2 final specials of Attack on Titan Season 4. I was told to do that on one of my videos. So I watched the first part. I haven't watched the second part yet. I ran out of time. But I mean, I'm still excited to watch the anime. Don't get me wrong. I'm still so excited to watch it. I'm going to be blasting through the anime in the next few months. But I don't know. I'm just so conflicted. As soon as I finished the arc, I was like, I do not know how to rate this. Like, it was probably like my second favorite arc up until the last few chapters, I think. And then it just like slid down. I'm still going to give it like a 7 out of 10. I think that's still like a really good rating because I think the rumbling itself is incredibly epic. It gave me such like biblical imagery and the idea of like, you know, the flood, but it's like the rumbling, it's like these massive titans just crushing the world at its feet. And the way that Eren looks, oh my god, he was terrifying. Like being this thing in his face too. Honestly, this was where I got like the biggest chills. I got such chills from this. And because Eren can say like past, present, future, like when he kissed Historia's hand, he saw what he had to do. And he says he had to do it. And I'm still like, did he really have to? Was he like actually put at gunpoint and forced to do that massive genocide? Like, I don't get it. If I think back to Marvel and I think back to Infinity War and like, oh, this is the only way we can defeat Thanos, fair enough, like that was a good plan. But like, this didn't feel like a good plan. Anyway, I'm back off track. But yeah, when he was talking to the boy and he's like crying his eyes out, like Eren's crying his eyes out, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, because he sees that the boy does get killed and he is the one who kills him. And when you get that section where the boy and his brother are like hiding what they've stolen, and then all the townsfolk are like running away, and then you see the Titans coming slowly but surely, and that was amazing in the anime too. The music, the tension, the screams, oh my god, it just elevated it so much. I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. So many times in this arc I was heartbroken when they got flattened, and oh my god, it was brutal, it was gruesome, it was disgusting, but it was fundamentally showing us how tragic this whole thing is. It's showing us the victims of war and how awful it is. I mean, it's showing us that, but then I don't understand what the final message of the manga is trying to tell us. This is just what happens. This is life, you know? Lots of people are going to die. Lots of people are going to commit genocides and all this, that, and the other. And is there hope? I don't know. Just make sure that you throw that ball. Make sure you hang out with your friends. Make sure you have fun in the meantime. It is what it is, you know? Like, that's kind of what I've taken away from it, which is probably very cynical, but it's just like, it's left me with such a bitter taste in my mouth. But anyway, lots of epic moments like that. I loved the whole rumbling thing. Oh my god, you know what else really broke my heart? Was when all the townspeople were trying to, they were carrying that baby, and they were like kind of crowd surfing that baby, just trying to save it. Oh my god. It's so sad. It is so sad. Hange sacrificing herself. And again, like, it took me a little while to realise that she was dead. There were some things that happened quite easily too. I love the fact that Falco did turn into this like flying titan. It did feel a little bit convenient and a little bit of a coincidence, but I digress. It was still an epic moment. I loved all the fighting and stuff. I loved it when Eren and Armin were fighting as both like Colossus Titans. I felt that heartbreak with Armin, but like at the same time, Armin is thanking Eren for committing genocide for them, and I just found that a little bit weird. If he got that vision, well, he got that vision of what he has to do, but like, maybe he got that vision because he has to stop it. There's like another route to take. I just don't get it. And the way that he saved Bertold in the past too, like again, I'm just going to keep going into little rants that probably are confusing. The way that he saves Bertold by getting, you know, Dinah, that Titan, towards his mum instead, like, so like he diverts her, so like really it was his fault, because he was also able to influence Grisha when he killed that royal family. So it was like Eren behind that, and he was able to like manipulate people's memories and stuff, and like all of this stuff was happening. I'm like, I don't get it. You can argue that his mum was probably going to die anyway. I mean, fair, but like still, like, why would he make her go straight for her? Even if it was to say Bertold, he could have done anything. He could have made her go a complete 180. Why didn't he make all of the Titans just leave? You know what I mean? If he was able to do that, if he was able to persuade and easily manipulate the Titans, why didn't he just make them all turn around and leave? Like, why did anyone have to die there? It's just like, why does 80% of the planet have to die in order for Eren to exact? I still don't get it. Eren really wanted freedom, and he was such an interesting character to follow because of that. And he had so much rage and hatred, and by killing 80% of the population, he let that hatred win. He let it win. And I think that is antithetical to the message that we are trying to send about how war is bad and it's a critique on war. But that's kind of harder to argue now after reading what Eren does and why he does it. Just so that one continent, that one place where he grew up could be okay. But I feel like he's just made it worse. Imagine a nation taking out 8% of the world population. Do you think people are just going to take that line down? When the Marleyans at the end, when Armin had to be like, you know, I took down Eren, I was the one who killed him, I feel like it's kind of a little bit unbelievable that they wouldn't just like take them all down. Like, they've kind of proven Marley's point that they are dangerous. I thought we were trying to prove the opposite, but no, instead we slaughter 80% of the people. Why? Like, why? I can't understand it. But as much as I really don't like that ending, I still love certain points of this arc, and it's like the rumbling itself was so epic and one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in like a manga, in a story. There were things with Gabby as well that I loved earlier on. So when Kaya was in trouble and Gabby saved her, but Kaya was shouting, "Save me, Sasha, save me." And it was actually Gabby, the one who killed Sasha. And that was a beautiful moment, I think, where you kind of pay kindness forward, you know, by saving someone else's life. I mean, yes, Gabby took Sasha's life, but she's been able to kind of rectify it in a way by saving Kaya, who was the person that Sasha saved all that time ago. I found that to be a beautiful moment. I also love that we had the return of like Annie. Oh my god, Annie! Yes, I was so glad that she was back and stuff. I did mention it briefly when Armin was talking about his feelings for her. And I know like he spent like what 4 years talking to her and she could hear everything. That's all fine and well. I still don't I don't feel the connection. But yeah, Annie's back. She got a chance to fight and stuff. The whole fight on Erin's back when he's the dinosaur titan thing. That was really epic and cool. But yeah, just having most of the original 104th training corps together, because even like Reina was there and Annie and Connie and Mikasa and Armin, like that was just beautiful. I love that. I always love callbacks to the original group, the original friendship group. Ymir's backstory, I'm not 100% sure I love the backstory. I felt it a little bit underwhelming after absolutely everything that's happened with all the Titans and all this, that, and the other. So Ymir loved the king, even though all he ever did was abuse her. Then yeah, she does get the Titan powers, and then she still goes back to the king. She still loves him, and then when she dies, the king gets his daughters, which I kind of love the fact that they were the walls, you know, Sheena, Maria, and Rose. But then after all that, it didn't really start with conflict between nations. It didn't start with unnecessary bloodshed between nations. It started because Ymir loved the king and he was abusive. She was about to die. Even though she got her powers, she went back to him. And then Mikasa is somehow connected to that. And Eren and Mikasa are like a parallel of Ymir and the king. Yeah, I guess Eren is a reflection of the king because the king was cruel, and that's essentially how Eren ended up. But Ymir couldn't let go of that, so that kind of explains why Mikasa couldn't really let go for a long time. And it just makes it that much more impactful when Mikasa does decide, I do have to stop Eren. As much as I love him, I have to stop him. And then, yeah, it goes inside his mouth, which was, I kind of loved that bit. But yeah, the kissing of his head was weird to me, and Ymir kind of saw that and was like, okay, now I can move on. I'm like, okay, but then 80% of the world population died. Why? Why did it die? I just don't think I'm ever going to be able to understand that. There was a lot of drama earlier on as well with the wine, because there was the spinal fluid in the wine, and you know, that's how like Falco got some on him, because Gabby revealed that she killed Sasha and she was still so proud of that. But that was a huge turning point for her. But also like so dramatic, the fact that Sasha's family is right there and yet they kind of forgive her. I mean, there was one guy who, you know, smashed the wine bottle and was like going to kill them. But like, he kind of learned to accept that too. So I kind of love that sequence. I love the fact that a little bit later on when we have the fight and they're trying to stop Eren and Zeke from touching, and Gabby takes off Eren's head. In that moment itself, with the whole shattering panel and like everyone saying it, and just, I felt shattered. Like that was such a beautiful paneled moment, like the way that the paneling was done, the way that the illustration was done, I think that was so well done, because then I really did feel the shattering of that with all the memories and the scene in fragmented sections. Brilliant. And I was also kind of conflicted at that moment too, because I mean, I obviously wanted Eren to succeed because I didn't realize how far he would go at that point. I wanted him to succeed. And also like his bond with Zeke, although was it really a bond? Zeke did say that he would do anything for his brother, and like that is such a weird family dynamic, because Zeke does bond with Eren and what he's gone through, because they've both gone through similar things with their dad. And so I found that really interesting that we had those moments between them, because I was hoping we would, you know, they are half brothers, they are related, so we needed a bit more with them. But I kind of loved the fact that they were trying to get to each other, and then that's when Gabby takes his head off, and I was like, Gabby, that's kind of awesome, that's kind of epic, but like, what the hell? What the hell? My battery died, I was talking for that long. And it was the forgiveness between Kaya and Gabby that really got me too, when Kaya tells Gabby, oh, you were just born in Marley. And the struggle to justify the actions of today, like they're paying for the sins 100 years ago, but what are the sins committed today? Like, why are they suffering? Why are they paying the price of everything now? Again, it's an amazing message. It's a great theme to explore. But I just think it's like really fumbled by the end, just with how the ending just turns out. I don't know, I feel like it's something I might have to sit on for a long time to really wrap my head around it, to really understand. I'll watch some YouTube videos of people talking about it so that I can also try and get more of an understanding of how other people feel, and maybe they can explain it better than I can. Maybe they can explain step by step what it is the ending is saying. Another character I really loved in this arc, I mean, I liked Levi. He had some good one-liners, like him calling Zeke, "you bearded shit." And it was epic that he did finally take down Zeke. I felt like the battles between them, the struggle between them felt very personal, and I'm glad Levi came out on top. But it was actually Connie. I really enjoyed Connie's arc in this arc. I love the fact that he wanted to take Falco to his mum so that his mum could eat him, so that his mum could like turn back human, and he was like ready to do that. But it was kind of like the emotional turmoil that was taken on him, because he was saying like Falco as he was, realizing how innocent he is. I love the fact that he was like, "Oh, we need to go brush her teeth." So that, you know, he could try and like drop him inside. But then it's Armin. Armin comes and he's about to drop inside of Connie's mum's mouth, and then Connie like saves Armin from going inside. And it's like Connie realizing like obviously this isn't right, and he's kind of put more of his like selfish wants and desires behind him in order to do what's right. And also there was a moment a little bit later on the docks, you know, when they're trying to leave the island so that they can stop the rumbling. On the dock where there are the Jaegerists and they have to fight them, but they were people that they knew and people that they used to care about. And Connie was kind of brutal, but also he did again what needed to be done in order to save more people in the future, because they were trying to stop them from proceeding. So Connie was just like, "I've had enough." Boom, boom. And they were dead. All to save Armin, because he understands the gravity of the situation, the fact that everything's a lot bigger right now, and there is something that needs to be done. Again, it is more bloodshed, and sometimes you have to like take into account what's for the greater good. So yeah, I did love and hate this arc, and I still gave it a 7 out of 10, which is a fantastic rating still. Love that we got to see Hanj and Sasha and everyone, even for just the briefest of moments, how happy they looked. The fact that the conflict was over for now, that the Titans have vanished from the world for now. And I do think I'm still going to come away from the series loving it as a whole. It was a fantastic ride, one that really got me angry at times, sad at times, and I think overall it was definitely well worth the journey still, even if I am still not completely understanding a lot of the points being made. So with that being said, the ranking for the arcs are: in 9th place is the 104th Training Corps arc with a 5 out of 10. In 8th place is the Royal Government arc with a 5.5 out of 10. At 7 is the Fall of Shiganshina with a 7 out of 10. In number 6 is the War on Paradis arc with a 7 out of 10 as well. In number 5 is the Marley arc with a 7.5 out of 10. Number 4 is the Female Titan arc with an 8 out of 10. Number 3 is the Battle of Trost District with an 8 out of 10. Number 2 is the Clash of the Titans arc, which also gets an 8 out of 10. And at number 1, my favourite arc, is the Return to Shiganshina arc with a 9 out of 10. So yeah, that was definitely my favourite arc. It was a really good one, and yeah, I'm just still so glad I read this series. I will still be tackling so many more series on my channel, so do stick around to subscribe for more. Next, I will be tackling Witch Hat Atelier. And I also have plans to do Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, Goodnight Pun Pun, and Naruto this year too, as well as some other ones in the works. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all your comments down below. Let me know what you think of Attack on Titan. Let me know what you think of the video. Did you agree with anything? Disagree with anything? Tell me everything in the comments. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons and my One Piece channel members for supporting my channel. If you join my Patreon or my One Piece channel membership, then all the links are down in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.